good news, Samir, is you do not have to listen to the old Circle of Dust albums. In fact, I would prefer if you didn't, because what I'm going to do to them is going to make them sound a lot better and a lot more modern. So for clarity, I'm not redoing these albums and re-recording the instruments. I'm just remastering them so they'll be louder. I'm getting rid of some of the mud and chaos in the mix and making them sound just a little bit more modern. So if you're going to listen to them, you're better off waiting just a little while longer, because they're all going to be released and they're going to sound a lot better than trying to dig up all those old ones and the crappy recordings that you'll find on YouTube. As far as the name Circle of Dust, the idea that we are born from dust and we return to dust when we die, it's this circle. It's kind of the cycle of life. This was long before The Lion King, so I didn't really know about that, but that was basically the principle of it.
Hello, Klayton from Celldweller and Circle of Dust. My name's Keith Cook and I'm from Austin, Texas. I have some questions for you. I've been a huge fan of yours since the mid-90s. I kind of grew up with you. To show you how much of a fan I am of yours, let me show you real quick some of the stuff that I hold dear to me. I have some merch, obviously. And some old school stuff too, and that's not really all of it, but I can't really dig it all up. I don't know where it is. First question I have for you, sir, is will there be any more Circle of Dust merchandise possibly coming in the future? So if there's any possibility of new merch, I'd be very happy to sport it and to purchase it and to fill beds full of it. Nonetheless, I love you.
Keith Cook, firstly I have to say, I love you too, bro. It's a pretty impressive collection you have there, and it amazes me that you probably have more of my stuff than I do. So kudos to you, and thank you for all the years of support. To answer that question about the merchandise, yes, there is Circle of Dust merchandise coming. And there have been a lot of people asking about old Circle of Dust designs. Unfortunately, a lot of that was not under my control, so those files are long gone. I don't even know how we could get them, apart from the Disengage era stuff, which I actually made myself. So maybe we'll recreate some of the old designs, but there will be new Circle of Dust merchandise because there will also be new Circle of Dust music. So get your wallet ready and prepare thy bed.
Hey everyone, it's James from Fixed, and I wanted to ask Klayton to re-answer a question that I asked him the first time we ever met about 15 years ago. And that is there actually an uncensored version of the song Deadly Love on the album Disengage?
It's a very interesting question, James Rhodes, and I know you have some specific reason for asking that. So the answer is yes, there is an uncensored version of Deadly Love. And yes, people are going to get to hear it this year because I wasn't allowed to actually put it on the original release. So I had to censor it, and now the uncensored version will be released. Fun fact for those of you who don't know, James is not only the first employee I ever had, but he also was the first, and to the date, the only person to ever get a copy of Deadly Love uncensored. And it was before he was even an employee. It was because he had made an impression on me, and I noticed he was buying a lot of my merchandise when I was selling Circle of Dust merchandise, and I just surprised him one day and I threw it in with a bunch of stuff he ordered and just mailed it to him. And I think he's kept that on lockdown. He hasn't really showed it to anybody, and it's commendable.
How are you doing? It's Kalina here, and I have a few questions for Ask Circle of Dust. What was it like to be on stage for the first time as Circle of Dust?
Well, I guess I'd say I'm sad that you missed my very first show as Circle of Dust, Kalina. But I'm kind of glad you weren't there because I was crapping my pants. I didn't get the luxury of my first show being at like Billy's bar mitzvah or at some wedding party or something really small for a bunch of friends. The first show that ever got booked for me was a tent out in the Midwest with 3,000 people in it. So I knew that the first time I was ever even going to try to make this music live, I was going to be staring into the face of 3,000 people. And I was pretty nervous about it getting pulled off. But once I stepped on stage, hit the first note, I quickly was over being nervous and just played the show. and I'm sure it was not the best thing I've ever done in my life, but at least it wasn't a complete failure.
My second question is, did you at the time record in your own room, or did you go to a studio, maybe from Rex Records? Maybe they had a studio? How did that go?
So early on in my career, I did not own my own studio. I couldn't afford it, and I didn't have the know-how. So the label had to put me up in other commercial studios. Unfortunately, for my first album, there was an original recording in 91 or 92, I think 91, and they sent me to some studio in Chicago, and most of the gear I was recording through was broken, and the engineer didn't totally know what he was doing, and to this day I have 4-track demos of those songs that sound better than my final album. So that album was a complete catastrophe, really, which is why I redid it from scratch and re-released it in 1995. More under my control, and that one was done in my own studio with my friend Vin Sirik, who was the only guy I knew who even had the slightest clue of what was going on with audio. He helped me mix that in Argyle Park. Other than that, though, I was in commercial studios for the Brainchild album and my original recording, and thankfully I will never have to do that again. Jim, I'm really glad you asked this question because it is a little bit of a source of frustration for me, and has been for many years, because I still go to all of my different pages and I have people calling me Scott on the page, and I basically ignore those comments because that's not my name. If you look at my driver's license and any other legal document, my name is not Scott Albert. So why people still call me that is probably because Wikipedia says they should, and you guys may know my opinion on Wikipedia. I didn't put the information there, somebody else did. So you can make up anything you want, including my name and my birth date and everything else. So for the record, my name is not Scott Albert, and if you call me that, it would be like going to Will Smith's page and saying, hey Martha, I loved your movie. I don't think Will's gonna respond to you because his name isn't Martha. So my legal name is Klayton, and everyone around me, including my family, calls me Klayton, so you probably should too.
His mama named him Clay, I'ma call him Clay.
The good news is I am musically schizophrenic, so I, in my own head, already switch between a lot of different styles fairly naturally. A few things that I'm actually doing while producing new Circle of Dust material is I'm going back to the old stuff that I used to use when I made that music. The old samplers, the old sample libraries, some of the old instruments, my old sampler discs, and I didn't have much in the way of synthesizers, so there's not really much to talk about there. So I just basically put myself in the mindset that I'm using this set of tools, and there are certain things that I stay away from because I know those are specifically Celldweller, and then I just create. Thank you for watching the very first episode ever of Ask Circle of Dust. Now, ordinarily I would say like this page and do all this other stuff. I'm still going to say that, but I want to clarify something. I'm not creating a Circle of Dust YouTube channel, not creating a Circle of Dust Twitter account, and a bunch of other social media platforms. It's mainly Facebook, circleofdust.net. You should join the mailing list there because you're going to be the first then to get any kind of news, probably even before Facebook. Like or share this video. Spread the word that Circle of Dust is back and active because I can't do it myself. Really, I can only do it with your help. So please feel free to send people to facebook.com/circleofdustofficial. Have them like the page and get involved. I do plan on doing more Ask Circle of Dust in the future, but the next few will be Ask Celldweller as usual. So if you want to ask a Celldweller related question, as always, ask them in the comments below. Hashtag Ask Celldweller in your social media platform of choice, or hit this fancy link in the moon and submit a video question and get your pretty face on my channel. Until next time, this is Klayton, aka Celldweller, Circle of Dust, Argyle Park, and a bunch of other stuff, signing off.